can't be near this thing like that.
That's what happens when you have these expensive ass microphones. If I clear my throat, they ain't gonna hear my throat clear. They gonna be like, "Dang, you need to drink a little bit more water."
I'm weak as hell.
And that's how we get the podcast started, though. We gotta introduce
Clear.
them to a laugh, really clear. They gotta feel like we just had like the funniest conversation ever, and then hit record because they like, "Dang, like what did I miss?"
Low key, we did, but we won't tell them about that.
We will not tell them about that. It's just us here. But maybe if I start a Patreon, the Patreon can be the pre-conversations. I might
I
have to write that idea down.
honestly catch us
But
banquet hall Patreon.
Banquet Hall Patreon. Hey, what a way to start the new year. I'm going to be speaking in the future and the past for a little bit because one, happy new year to the listeners of the Banquet Hall, as this podcast will go out in 2023. But we are recording this in 2022, making this guest the last guest interviewed in 2022 and the first guest featured in 2023. What a distinction to welcome Kenny motherfucking Jones to the Banquet Hall. Kenny, how are you?
Wow, what an honor. Honestly, I'm doing great, y'all. Happy to be here, and it's a beautiful way to kick in the new year. 2023 has a lot in store for all of us.
Do you have any, are you a New Year's resolution type of guy? Do you have any things that you're planning on making a goal for the new year?
I do, but I gotta talk to my manager about it first because um, I am super unorganized in that part of my life, for the record.
No, but Kenny, I know where you are. I know where you're from, but why don't you let the listeners of the Banquet Hall tell us a little bit about you? Like, where are you from? Where are you currently? Let us know the real Kenny Jones.
Okay. So for everyone, I grew up in American Canyon. I lived in Vallejo for some time as well. That is in Northern California for the folks that don't know. It is a part of the Bay. A lot of people,
I was gonna ask.
that's a tough conversation for a lot of people. It's a part of the Bay. So I grew up out here in the Bay. I went to San Diego for 6 years for school, and then I came back to do 3 more years of school in the Bay. It's almost over though, and yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Thank you, kind sir. And I had this conversation with the hyphy duck when he was on the Banquet Hall. So we got to get
Ooh.
the Bay Area boundary. So obviously, going west, you're in the city of San Francisco. Like the ocean is right on the other side. So SF is part of the Bay. We know that.
Yes,
Oakland is
yes,
obviously part of the Bay.
right.
You said that Vallejo, American Canyon, that is part of the Bay.
Yeah.
How certain are you? Like, if I ask every Bay Area resident, are they all going to say that Vallejo is part of the Bay?
No, because there's some haters, but I'm like, how can you have E40 without like, come on, yo, come on, backtrack from Vallejo, come on now.
Fair point. Let's go
Right.
down to San Jose. Is San Jose part of the Bay?
It's South Bay, but I might get talked to for that.
I feel like you got people in San Jose messed up because it's real. It's South Bay.
It's South Bay. It's the Bay. South Bay. That's all I'm
Okay,
saying.
let's go a little bit more south. Is Santa Cruz part of the Bay?
No way.
No way. That was a
No way.
definitive no.
It's a
Hey,
definitive no for Santa Cruz.
I agree with you. I do have a friend who's from Santa Cruz. I don't even know if she'd be listening to the Banquet Hall, but I do be low key shading her when I asked if Santa Cruz is part of the Bay because we had an argument where I was like, no, Santa Cruz is definitely not a part of the Bay. It's part of the Monterey Bay,
Yeah,
but it's not
exactly.
part of the San Francisco Bay Area.
Honestly, that's my same thoughts.
See, I be trying to rep for the Bay, like put some respect on the Bay, like respect the Bay as I've been taught to respect the Bay. So if you
That's
are from Santa
appreciated.
Cruz listening to this, I'm sorry, but y'all are not part of the San Francisco Bay Area.
Yeah, because you knew where I was from when the Dodgers were winning. That's all I gotta say. My guy was on me when the Giants lost. I was like, bro, leave me alone. I'm from I don't know where.
Hey, like we can get into the sports fandom a bit. I might have to make that a topic because I got questions about your jersey choices sometimes.
Ooh,
But
put him on, put him on. Well, we
the
gonna get
Dodgers, like we know what happened to the Dodgers. We don't even have to bring up baseball, but I for sure would text you when because you would be on Instagram story like, "Oh, I'm at the Giants Dodgers game. Go Giants!" Like, oh Giants. Since a win, do you
go
root for
Giants.
the Giants?
All All right, so I'm not really a baseball fan, but since
Hmm.
it's like down the street from my spot, like I'm gonna go rep the Giants, I guess. I wanted to be an A's fan, but that's too far. Like 15 minutes opposed to like 40 minutes. Like I guess I'm repping them.
Is that 40 minutes on BART or driving?
I don't really drive out here.
Mm,
So I'm Bart, yeah.
gotcha.
I could walk to the
Well,
Giant Stadium. Like that's
okay.
I feel like
I
that's a
feel
good
that.
reason. Yeah, you
Yeah,
know,
that's a
like
good reason to be a Giants fan. I mean, I guess. What about basketball though? Because you're not a Warriors fan.
I'm a Bucks fan and a Thunder fan. Shout out to Shea. He's having a crazy year right
He
now.
is.
And Josh Gidley, Giannis, reigning MVP from the year before. Or is it last year? One of
It
them
was 3 years
years.
ago.
That man's nice. And I got
Ken,
on the Bucks. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say Kenny's the one person I know who owns a Paul George jersey prior to the Clippers.
Literally, I think I got my Paul George jersey on Paul George Day when he said that I'm gonna leave the Thunder. I like cried damn near. I was like, yo, are you serious? I didn't get a Rush jersey because I thought PG got a day. And... Oh well.
Nah. But you're about to say how you became a Bucks fan.
Oh yeah. So no, I saw Giannis enter the league and I was like, oh, he's gonna be the one. So I would tell Zay, our other friend, Isaiah King, like, yo, like I think it's Giannis in the Bucks. And he was like, okay. A couple years later, MVP
Hey,
and champion.
and champion. Put some respect on that. I was
Yeah.
like, Kenny, like, what you mean you a Bucks and a Thunder fan? That's like the most odd combination of teams to root for. Especially, I feel like when I found out that that's who he was rooting for, because it was like you said, the Bucks were up and coming, but they weren't like here yet. The
Yeah.
Thunder were in that phase where it's like, yeah, like the Thunder is always kind of being here. So it was like Thunder and Bucks, very, very interesting. But I couldn't talk much because at the time the Lakers weren't doing good. Then we won a championship, then we stopped doing good again. So this will be the last time we talk about basketball on this podcast episode because Lakers got me jacked up.
I will say I have this like thing with the Warriors because I'm a Thunder fan, right? I remember
Mm.
when Kevin Durant got traded to the Warriors, my grandma was laughing at me. I was like,
Not grandma.
Grandma, that's so disrespectful. I'm over here crying on the inflatable.
I
Ain't
can't
that some
imagine
shit?
my grandma like talking mess about my sports team or laughing at me like that. That's a deep cut.
That's a deep cut. And we just lost the year. Like we losing and we lose Kevin Durant. Like, grandma, you gotta go in your house.
No, don't tell grandma she got to go on the podcast. But I want to transition to talk a little bit about your journey south to San Diego. So, before I get into how I met you, why don't you start with just what led you to choosing UC San Diego for undergrad?
Definitely. So, in high school, I got a chance to run track. My freshman year of high school, I'm starting to get all the years like mixed up. My freshman year of high school, I actually told the track coach like, "Nah, I'm gonna play badminton. I rather not run
I've
track. It's
never heard
not,
this story before.
yeah, it's not really for me." And he's like, "I could turn you into a champion. Like, what are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm gonna play badminton. I hope you have a great day." So I played badminton for a year, and then this other coach comes and he's like, "You should run track. It's not like the other things, blah blah blah. Like, I don't know if you could do this." And I was like, "Bro, you don't know if I could do this." Like, all
The
right, let me show you.
disrespect.
Yeah, I'm like, let me
Right.
show you. Let me show you. So I come out to the track, and more or less junior year of high school, we end up going to state, and I finally got some looks for running track, and UC San Diego was one of them. It was there where I was going to go to a school in Missouri.
Mm.
And it rained, snow, and was sunny on the same day in Missouri when I visited. So I was like, it's a no for me, Tom.
That's
But
awful marketing.
yeah, it's out. It's out. What am I supposed to do with that? So I called up San Diego and I was like, I'm there. And it ended up being like one of the best decisions of my life. I got to run track um, at a collegiate level, which I never imagined doing. I was just running to run. And now I run all the time. And yeah, really thankful for that opportunity. I would have never met Kyler.
You do be running all the time. You do be running all the time. I'll probably mention this other times in the podcast too, but one thing I love about Kenny, this man will answer the phone whenever I call, and 9 times out of 10, I'll call him, and I swear he's running a marathon, like he's just mid sprint, like hello. I'm like, hey, what's up? He's like, hey, what's good, bro? And it's like, yo, are you busy? No, I could talk. Like, bro, you're running.
I literally say I could talk in any scenario. I'm like, no, it's cool. What's up? Like, are you good?
It's all love always, and I love that. But not to bury the lead too far, you mentioned you wouldn't have met me, and meeting you is, I would say, top 2 or 3 most memorable experiences meeting people at UCSD, just because
Wow.
of the story that's tied to it. It's just such a very unique story. So I'll kind of tell my side of the story, and then we can fill in with kind of where you were at in this point in time too. So me and
Definitely.
Andre, most of y'all know him from Natural Nonsense. If you haven't tuned into Natural Nonsense podcast yet, what are you waiting on? That's my
Tune in for
question.
sure.
Tune in for sure, but that's another story. But Andre and I, we both are in the same year at UCSD. I believe this is like our second year on campus, and with UCSD being the PWI that it is, beginning of the year, you kind of just looking for whatever black students you can find and bringing them in. Like, hey, you come here. Like, we are wrangling up all the black students just to make sure folks are connected, folks know where community is. So me, Andre, and Jazzy, we were in the Ravel parking lot, and we saw this black family, and they were like looking around, and they kind of looked lost, but even if they weren't lost, we wanted to make a connection. We was like, hey, what's up, y'all? Like, y'all need help finding anything? Y'all going to the BRC? We got this Student Success Institute happening. And they're like, yeah, we're going to go to that. And I was like, oh, like, where's your student? I was like, oh, he's already here. If you ever like run into him, look out for him. His name is Kenny Jones. I'm like, all right, Kenny Jones. Like, I'm gonna remember that. So fast forward to later that day, me and Andre go to the gym, Remac, which is now named the Lion Tree Arena. If y'all UCSD folks didn't know, that's disgusting. Uh,
Why? Why?
Capitalism, but
Ugh.
sheesh. But me and Andre going to Remac playing basketball. It's always pickups running at Remac, and we go into Ox Gym, and usually me and Andre are the only black people there when we're going. But it's like, oh wait, there's this black student, and then it's like, hey, what's up, man? Like, what's your name? He's like, oh, Kenny. We're like, Kenny, what's up, bro? And Kenny's like, who the fuck are y'all?
I was so surprised. I'm not gonna front. I was like, huh? I just got here today.
Right. It's like, I'm literally new in town, and y'all acting like y'all really know me. And then the game commences, and we're playing pickup ball. And this is when I didn't think Kenny and I would ever be friends, because, just casual game of pickup. We run at fives. Ain't nobody that nice on this pickup game. Like, we're all at UC San Diego. None of us are going pro. And so, somebody shoots on Kenny's team. I'm trying to get the rebound. That's my job. Like, I'm a rebounder, like get the ball moving. And as I'm trying to get the rebound, I look up, and Kenny's just flying, like trying to dunk a putback. I'm like, hey, bro. And mind you, I'm, what am I, 19 at this point? I'm a different dude. I'm like, hey, dog, like, you watch where the fuck you flying in that. Because why is this man trying to dunk on me week 0? I ain't even really know where my class is at, and I'm about to get dunked on at Ox Gym. Hell no. Nah.
I'm not gonna lie. I was moving mad different thing. I was jumping out the gym. I was like, let me get one real
Literally.
quick.
Nah, like, nah, you lucky I have some sense. I should have found your ass midair.
That would have been a whole different story. We
A
needed
whole
this one.
different story. But look at where we've come full circle. I think the reason we were able to get here is because you didn't finish the dunk. Like, if you would have finished the dunk, I don't know. Like, I probably would have just not been able to talk to you
For a minute at least.
for a cool minute. But yeah, what was that like? Your first day in college, and these 2 random dudes, you have no idea who they are, run up to you like they just they bro.
Honestly, I felt like it was super reassuring. Like there was no black roommates that I had. Like I guess in reflection of that, like all of y'all being so welcoming, I think helped to like settle in, even if we didn't, because we didn't even kick it for like hella long.
Right.
Honestly, until like right before we moved in with each other. But like just knowing that someone could be there and like a familiar face throughout campus was like a beautiful thing for sure.
No, absolutely. And I think that's the one thing that I always knew about you. I was like, I might not see Kenny for like 7 to 9 weeks, but when I do see him, he's gonna be like, hey man, like what's going on? Like just all happy to see me doing something, whether it's running for Associated Student Government, running on the track field, or just navigating campus. Cause I remember it's just randomly, I felt like you turned into this like really political figure on campus. And it was like, oh, like Kenny's running for like office. Like, what was that like running for AS and being a part of that AS movement?
Honestly, it was like all the perfect storm for I guess like my own story. Um I got asked to join the students determined slate.
Mm-hmm.
We did sweep that year. That's all I'm gonna
Talk your
say.
shit. Talk
I
your
was
shit.
I'm gonna say we swept that year. I did have the most votes. And I was on like a different type of grind because I realized like I guess the impact one person can have. I knew nothing about politics or the student government at all, but I knew that I could be successful like in it and getting into the position to do something. So with that, I went into it and then I ran based off of the D1 campaign that we are trying to launch for the school through the athletics, and it ended up passing through, which is insane. Like I've helped to lead a successful campaign to turn a school to Division 1. Like, whoa, like where is that at on the resume? I don't know. But
It gotta be there. You gotta put that on there somewhere.
I gotta put something on there. Through that process, I just learned how like powerful our words could be in our actions. Like there were times where like I missaid something that wasn't politically correct, or
Mm.
learning the right and wrong things to say, and like kind of just learning about life in a whole different lens that I was used to.
No, I think that's amazing because I think there's so much growth that happens in college outside of the classroom that you really can never be prepared for. Because I know when you were thinking about choosing colleges and you're going to be running track, but you're also like getting a degree at the end of the day, you're not thinking about like, oh, how am I going to grow as a political figure and like be able to learn how to be a leader, learn how to talk to quote unquote the media. Like, of course, it's like UCSD media, but like being able
Right.
to talk, being able to represent people, understanding the nuances of different issues that you're fighting for. Like there's a lot of growth that happens, and this is not even talking about what's going on in the classroom.
Right. And yeah, I was not prepared. But I was in that thing and I it was a steep learning curve for sure. Like I feel like it's almost impossible to be caught up in like all of world news instantly. So that's why I try to have like an open mind for people that are still learning, and even myself. Like sometimes I feel like I'm hard on myself for not knowing, or those other things, but definitely.
What, you being hard on yourself for not knowing something? You don't say.
All the time.
We'll get into that though, but let the folks know, what did you actually study at UCSD?
uh so I
Have to
went
think about it.
in. No, I was gonna say I changed my major like 4 times, y'all. I got really lucky. This was before bio was impacted at UCSD. But I started off with neuroscience. Then I went to marine biology because I was like, this would be cool. And then I couldn't pronounce any of the name of the sea creatures, so I was like, this probably won't be cool. So I switched to what was it? I think I was a chemist for some time
Mm.
because I was volunteering in a lab that made biodegradable surfboards. And then I ended up doing biochemistry and cell biology. And yeah, that's what I studied in school. And then I did a little bit more school and I studied analytical chemistry.
Analytical chemistry, because one round at UCSD wasn't enough for you. You had to do 2 rounds at UCSD. What was that like being a double Triton?
So getting my master's at UCSD, it all wouldn't have happened without one of my teammates, Emmanuel. He was the manager for this lab that I was working in. And I was volunteering there and I was like, bro, I've been looking for some stuff. He's like, oh, I might give my our other teammate Makai which I'm gonna call it, like a volunteer position. I was like, what about me? I've been asking you for a year. He's like, oh yeah, huh? We do have this study with Colgate. I'm like, dog, I want to come on, bro. I want to be a dentist. And he's like, oh, yeah, huh? Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm like a manual. Come on, bro. But with that, The second time going around, it felt way better. I think going to UCSD, I didn't know how good the school was, and I didn't know how much I didn't know in
Mm.
general. So I felt like the second time around, I was like, I finally found my footing. My PI that I was working with gave me some leeway on like the type of classes I could do, and I ended up teaching photography at the same time. So it was like a whole experience where like I got to carve it out myself and still learn the topics that I wanted to. So I really appreciated that time.
And then you have a couple of distinctions when you went for round two at UCSD.
Mhm.
I will never forget one because it feels like one of those last normal experiences before the world shut down. But I went to was it a defense? What is the technical term for what you were doing?
My thesis defense.
Yes, I went to Kenny's thesis defense, and this was like right before like the world was about to end. Like I think it was your PI or somebody that was like, yeah, this might be the last in person defense for who knows how long. So we're all in this room. Kenny's at the front of the classroom, probably nervous as hell, and he's about to defend this thesis. And quite frankly, banquet hall listeners, how long was your defense about? Like 30 minutes? How long was it?
It's about 30, 45, 30.
I didn't know what he was saying for like 36 of those minutes. Like this man was just like cooking. He had the charts, the diagrams, he had pictures, he was saying some words. I was like, I don't know what the hell he's saying. I think I made the slideshow like I was on one of the pictures or something, but it was just like I don't know what he's saying, but he sounds smart. So in whatever way you want to say, I'd say layman's terms. I don't know if it's even a possibility to describe what you were defending in layman's terms, but what was your defense about?
Not years later. I do want to say for the record too, Kyler and I lived together. So there was one point in time super close to my defense where I ran downstairs and I was like, I've done it. I've done it. And he's like, what are you talking about? Like, I figured it out. And I just started talking about it. He's like, okay. And I'm like, I gotta go. And I just go
Real
back
Back to the
upstairs.
Future type shit. It was just like it was like Eureka, I've done it. I'm like, yo, what the hell was you doing upstairs? And the thing people gotta know about you as a roommate, it's no telling what you gonna come downstairs with. Sometimes he's screaming and it's like, oh, that's just Kenny playing League of Legends. Sometimes he comes downstairs before he goes upstairs, he pull a hot dog out his pocket. Sometimes he's discovering something and it's just the brink of the next scientific like phenomenon. And it's just like, yep, sounds about right. So yeah, I will never forget that either because I was like, oh, he's done it. I don't know what the hell he's done, but he did
He's
it.
done it. Yeah, no. So basically, um, I discovered that there is an interaction between like the bacteria and the things that we eat in our mouths in regards to like what stains our teeth. So we found out that there were these other chemicals, if you will, that are the byproducts of the bacteria that we're digesting and eating and that live in our mouth. So it was pretty cool. I never imagined in my life that I'd be doing something like that. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to stay and get my master's as well. Um, I was thinking about applying to more school after, um, but I felt like it was the perfect segue into the next chapter of my life.
Yeah, it was a beautiful segue and one that you were way too humble about because as I was just lost in whatever the hell he was saying, they end and they're like, "Oh, anyone have any questions?" And I'm like, "I ain't gonna ask him no questions. I know this he's a like release, like, oh, I've done it." And then from the back of the classroom, gentleman in the back, I turn around, it's Andre. I'm like, "Oh, he about to ask some shit." And Andre asked you this most sophisticated question. It's like what can we learn from this research that you've done? And then it turns out Kenny discovered some shit. It's like, Kenny, you discovering something new and you just acting like, oh, I'm just giving a little third grade science fair presentation.
I think it was way bigger than I even imagined because like Andre asked me that question and I was just like on go mode, so my brain couldn't even comprehend what he asked me. But the product or the research I did, you'll probably see the product in the future. Um,
Mm.
they gave us a product right before from Colgate that was like this like ultimate 3D whitening, something like that. So I'll be in the next one, which is insane, right? Like never in my wildest dreams would I be thinking that I'd be on a in Colgate,
Yeah,
like a piece
it's
of
gonna be
that.
some shit that 10 out of 10 dentists recommend. I'm counting it.
I think so too.
Nah, but that's dope. I'm gonna be at the toothpaste aisle in Target in the year 2040. It's gonna be a tube of toothpaste
uh,
that costs like $87, and it's gonna be like Kenny discovered this compound. It's like, yeah, I know him. I was there.
I'm gonna make my own before that happens, dog.
I know I'm waiting on it. Like I will never forget that it was just one day you randomly was like, yeah, like, I'm about to develop my own toothpaste. I'm like, you can do that? Like they let niggas develop toothpaste.
No, but I'm gonna do it. Ain't no niggas making toothpaste. But we
Oh,
gonna have
we
some.
love it. We are gonna have some. As you take your sip, I will try to slowly ask the next question, give your mouth time to digest what is going into your system. But one of the things that is a nicely kept secret, I would say, is that the banquet hall was stolen from Kennedy's community. And I use stolen very lightly, but Kenny, I started this series about 3 years ago now, I think, where you are interviewing some of your friends who are doing dope things. The description that you have on your YouTube channel, I don't know if you've read this anytime recently, but there's great people out there. Let's hear from them. Within the community, we hope to have fruitful discussions with our featured guests about our past, present, and future. By telling stories and reflecting on the past, we can gain a new perspective of that person and their personal passions. That is the description of Community with Kenny Jones on YouTube. And that is exactly the inspiration for the banquet hall, because very similarly, there's dope people doing dope things and we need to hear their stories. So talk to me a little bit about the inspiration for developing Community. And before you get to that description, I do want to thank you for allowing me to continue the community legacy through the banquet hall without paying you for the idea.
We're gonna talk about that, but nah. In college, I realized how small the world was and how many people, I guess, are drawn to California in general. One of my roommates was a mathematician. One of my roommates just opened on the New York Stock Exchange. One of my
Mm,
past roommates, his dad was the vice president of IBM. Like the people that I was around without even like knowing were amazing freaking people.
right.
And I think I just wanted to like take advantage of that moment of like, oh, I mean this cool person, I mean this cool person. Let me selfishly document this and like really, I guess, embrace the opportunity to have intentional time to learn about another person. I think like society and the world makes it so life is so fast paced that like the people that you might be inspired by or that you're cool with like could be right next to you and you don't
Mm-hmm.
ever ask them any like intentional questions or you don't get a chance to like really dive into their life. And I think that's how we started with like the first one with Kyler and I. And I was like, yo, like you're fire at writing poetry. Like it's kind of insane. Can we talk about your book? And you're like, yeah. And I'm like, lit.
Let's do it
And
right now.
yeah, like I have a setup. You want to go over there by the TV? And I think that was just the thing. And we plan on making a comeback, Community 2.0, another time, but still meeting some more people.
No, I think that's amazing. Yeah, just looking back at just those 3 years, like you have several videos on YouTube under Community. So make sure y'all search Community with Kenny Jones on YouTube and check out some of those community interviews. The first one, like he said, it was myself and him right in front of our TV. And what I really appreciated about Kenny during that interview, which is kind of why I wanted to make sure the banquet hall was structured nicely, was it wasn't just like, oh, like let me just read these questions on a piece of paper, but Kenny had like notes and stuff about like specific poems in the book and asked about like inspiration behind poems. He just like, oh, what does this line mean in this poem? And I think that intentionality and that investment in people's creativity especially is very important, because it's really nice when somebody like retweets you on Twitter. It's really nice when somebody likes a post or shares a post. But when you really show that you're intentionally like thinking about what someone's creating and what someone's doing with their life, I think that that's where, like you said, like you get to really know people, get to know what they've been through. And that's what the banquet hall is for, is to help share people's stories. So I'm happy that community is coming back. I can't wait to see the new guests that are on the horizon. And maybe there's a community and banquet hall, a community banquet hall collab in the future.
I think that needs to happen.
I think it needs to happen too. So speaking of community, I think that when we're in college environments and when we're trying to figure out who we want to become, what we want to do with our lives, community involvement is very important. And I know, based off of stalking you on the Dugoni School's website and a beautiful article written on January 11, 2021, one of your inspirations for going to into dentistry and really solidifying your pathway to dentistry was your involvement with Flying Sams and volunteering in Mexico. So talk to us a little bit about the Flying Sams and what that experience was like.
Definitely. So the Flying Samaritans is a group that volunteers in different countries in order to better meet some of the healthcare disparities that are in these different places. Uh, when I was in my third year of undergrad, I'm sorry, y'all, it's going on like 10 years almost, which is also wild. Um,
Wow.
yeah, it was my third year, and one of my good friends, one of my mentors, he was like, "Hey, do you want to lead these service trips to Mexico?" And I'm like, I don't really know Spanish. And he's like, "Don't worry, you're tough enough." And I'm like, "Okay, let's try it." So I ended up leading these mission trips to Mexico where we give free dental care for about 3 years of my life. And we go down every month and provide free care with dental assistants, hygienists, dentists, all looking to help those in need and people that really needed some immediate attention to their health care and specifically oral health care. And yeah, it was like a crazy experience because I another thing like just taking the chance or taking an opportunity that's presented itself. I never thought that I'd be doing something like that, and I'm like the main point of contact. So I was like figuring out government like documents with the government in Mexico. I speak
Mhm.
Spanish like very poquito, so we had to figure some things out. But this ultimately led me to going to dental school because I could see how much like these moments that we spend with other people can make a difference on their lives, and I really appreciated the immediate gratification that happens from like um, someone that might be in pain with a toothache or something to that extent. Uh, Recently, we're actually in talks about going back to Mexico at the end of March to do a service trip, and it'll be my first time being a doctor there. So I'm really excited about that, and it'll be super full circle.
What is that like? I want to expand on that a little bit. What is it
Mhm.
like to hear yourself say like that will be your first time doing it as a doctor?
It's wild, right? Like I did everything for that clinic. I think there was one time where I was like adjusting one of the pipes on the floor and sewer water just like flew into my face. Like the toilet was back.
Ugh.
It was a story. Everybody. And I think it's just really what's the word? Humbling, you know? Like
Mm.
I didn't have a chance. No one in my family is a doctor, so the opportunity to be able to do this and to help others and to see like kind of something that I helped build again in a better place is something beautiful for me.
I love that. I love that so much. And
Yeah.
kind of expanding a little even more about like some of these milestones in your pathway. Um, I remember it wasn't too long ago when you had your coat ceremony and you sent us like the link in the you sent like some type of live stream link. I was literally driving on the 15, but I was like, nah, like forget the music I'm playing. Like I'm listening to this ceremony. So I had the phone up on the little dashboard, had the ceremony going, and we was like, we can't be there, but man, whenever they say Kenny Jones, we going up. Like the group text was jumping. It was just so excited. So what was that like just being on that stage and putting on that coat for the first time?
I think I thought about so many things while I was on the stage. Little to my knowledge before, but like at least when I entered the program, there was no black men that were in it. And my faculty recently told me that I was the first black student they had in 11 years. So I think like looking back on that, like I didn't know how big my role was in the school or like in general to like healthcare as a whole until like looking back at this moment. At that moment, I was super giggly. I was probably drunk with my classmates, and we were enjoying the moment. We were reading like the oath to do no harm, and um, I really hope that I can embrace that for the rest of my life and be able to help people that don't have access to healthcare and are unsure of what to do next for what's best for their lives.
Feel like a proud dad right now, just watching you talk about your dental school journey. I don't know, man.
Um,
Like seeing like just the levels of stress that you'd be under, seeing like just the amount of hours you would stay up late. Some of it procrastinating, some of it playing League of Legends, but nonetheless, you had to have balance in your life. But just seeing like just the hard work that went into getting where you are, like I don't know, it's just something really special about even not being able to be there at the ceremony, but being able to see you on the live stream, like putting on the coat. I'm like, nah, that's my dog. That's Kenny motherfucking Jones.
I appreciate that so much, brother. Like, again, a moment that was way bigger than I ever imagined, even if it's like something so simple as putting on the coat.
Absolutely. And I want to touch on or transition to Crown Ellen because you mentioned like your experience was like being or understand that you're the first black male in the program in 11 years. Like that's just 11 might seem like a small number to some, but just thinking like 11 years of time without another person who looks like you partaking in that ceremony and being on that college campus, like there's a lot to that. And so you started Crown Ellen, and I want you to talk a little bit about what Crown Ellen is and what it means for you as a future dentist.
Definitely. So I started Crown Ellen with the intention to make something that I felt comfortable wearing in the space that I'm in. And excuse me, my school is only business casual, or you can only wear like business wear and you can't wear scrubs. So I felt like it immediately affected like my existence. A lot of people can spend a lot of money on clothes, especially at my school, which is a private school. A lot of their families have dentists that have been in their life for like generations to come, right? So getting some of the clothes or things that they have like is nothing for them. And I really just wanted the opportunity to create something that was um, like to the same standard and for me and by me. And yeah, I just wanted to let them know that like despite this other barrier to where you get asked to leave school if you're not wearing professional wear,
Mhm.
wouldn't stop me from being the doctor that I wanted to be and being perceived around school as the young professional that I am, despite how I look, what I'm wearing, and all those things.
Yeah, I think representation is so important, not only in the fields that we're in, but what we're wearing, how we're showing up to these different places. And so I think it's beautiful what you're doing with Crown Ellen. And something that you don't necessarily emphasize when you talk about Crown Ellen, but I want people to know the shit's fly. Like,
Thank
forget all the
you.
like sentimental, like representation stuff. Like, that's all important, but nah, it's fly. Like when I remember when you first sent me like the first Crown Ellen gear and I saw it, I was like, oh no, this is nice. Like I can't imagine it. If I saw my dentist about to clean my teeth or something and he come in like swaggy like that, I'm like, oh, my teeth about to be Chip Skylark status, like shiny teeth and me
My
status.
shiny teeth and me. And with that, we have a lot more to come. My manager and I have been working to see what the drops will look like in the future. I know we're gonna have two Crown Ellen drops, and I'm starting another subline too called Above Me. Um, not many people know about that banquet hall exclusive, but Above Me will
Ooh,
have four drops next year. So very excited about that.
4 drops next year. So there's a lot to look forward to in 2023. I guess
Definitely
technically 4 drops this year by the time people are hearing this, but
this year.
um Kenny, you're always getting to some things. Like Kenny has 1,700 Instagrams, 1,300 Finstagrams. Sometimes I'll be trying to send Kenny a post on something, and I'm like, wait, which one is he going to check sooner? Is it Dr. Kenny? Is it 35 millimeter Kenny? Should I send it to Crown Ellen? Like, what's Kenny gonna check? But I want to take that as a transition to talk about some of your other endeavors outside of dentistry. First, KMFJ on the beat. Like, let's talk to you about making beats and what music has meant for you over these last several years.
Definitely. So, in elementary school, let's go back to there. There's this one girl named Sylvia. She was the number one flutist, like in the Napa Valley for some time. But we were playing recorder, and she beat me on this one day. I couldn't play whatever that song is called, Chopsticks, right?
Mm.
Because I couldn't read the tempo correctly. Ever since then, I was the most competitive music man in the world. I was like, this girl beat me. Oh my God. From there I played like clarinet, bass clarinet, trumpet, tuba, trombone, all these different instruments. And I went into college and I realized like I'm missing something that I really appreciate. And I think this was right before the time COVID started happening. I want to say 2018. I got into some beats. Shout out to Zay La Vie. He gave me my first DAW. If y'all don't know what that is, that's like where people make beats. So this is like Logic or FL Studio. Excuse me. And yeah, I just started making beats and I made some trash. He laughed at me the first time and I was like, well, and I made some more trash, made some more trash, and suddenly, like one man's trash was another man's treasure.
Mm.
People started to appreciate the music that I was making, and I actually have a EP that I'm a part of, coming out this Friday, but this will be in 2023 when y'all hear this, so it's out now. With my homie Bebo. She's a phenomenal singer. She was actually on X Factor like a couple
Oh
years
wow.
ago. So definitely stay tuned for that. And when y'all hear or see me, you can find it as well because I'll be posting about it.
Awesome. And while we're on the topic of posting about it, where can folks find you if they want to support you in all your endeavors?
Definitely. So I have an account. The first one is like my personal page. It's Dr. period Kenny Jones, and that's for Instagram, as well as 35 Kenny. That has a lot of my photography and some more of my like artistic things. And Crown Ellen is KROWNELLEN. And that's where all my designs will be for clothing and some other fun stuff that we may see.
Some other fun stuff. Kenny always got something up his sleeves. Like I feel like I gotta pause the
Except
recording and be
today.
like, what else
Except
is coming?
today.
Right.
No sleeves.
First thing I saw when I came on this damn podcast, Kenny hair lengthy as hell. And then he got the guns blazing with the muscle tee on. I was like, oh, he's trying to get the ladies from the banquet hall.
Hello.
I see what you do. Hello.
Excuse me.
See him adjusting his head for no reason throughout the podcast. Like, I gotta stretch real quick. Uh the audio listeners just like, what the hell are they talking about? This is why audio listeners
You
head
gotta
on over
watch.
to YouTube, Banquet Hall Pod, or you can go on Spotify. The video's on Spotify too. But
Yeah,
if you
that's how
want
I'll
to
be
check out
watching it.
Kenny's gun show, you be watching on Spotify.
Yeah, I watch it on Spotify.
Look at Kenny being an avid supporter. That's another thing. We'll talk about support in a second, but if I had to list out like out of all the people I'm not related to by blood, like who supports me the most, Kenny's the leader of Team Kyler. This is team captain right here. Whenever I'm about to drop something, if I have an idea, Kenny's there to support it. He's there to help me think through the idea more. He's giving me additional things to think about doing. So if you ever need to learn about how to support people, maybe that would be your not nonsense appearance. We'll talk about supporting your homies.
That'll be
But
fire.
Kenny, Kenny Jones, avid supporter of everything his friends does. So shout out to you. You deserve to hear your flowers for that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
So we're rounding out towards the tail end of the podcast. You mentioned 35 millimeter Kenny Instagram page. So I wanted to touch a little bit about your love for photography, how that's grown over time. Kenny always got the disposable camera or something in his hands when you see him. So where did the love for photography start?
Yeah, so 2014, I want to say that was when vlogging was super popular. So I saw this, right? So I complained to my mom, like, hey, mom, I need a camera. I got to record. I'm about to go to college. I got to record everything that happens. And she's like, okay, fine. So her and her friend, they dropped for a camera for me. And I'm carrying like this huge DSLR like everywhere. So I'm like, and that's how I got the gun show, right? So I'm carrying this thing everywhere. And I started taking more and more pictures. And I started posting my pictures on a website. And this would be like all the sports athletes or like whoever was in my immediate area, whether that's a bird or like my homie Grant, who used to be the point guard on the team. Like
Shout out
I
to
was
Grant.
taking the picture. Yeah, shout out to Grant. Fire. I would just be taking pictures nonstop. I actually got the opportunity to take a class that was like the intro to photography, which led to me teaching the class during my master's program. With that, I was the first bio student that ever taught a visual arts class, which was like cool, but the visual arts students didn't really respect me. They're
I'm
like,
like, he don't know
bro,
what he talking about.
yeah, they're like, he bio, bro. Come on now. And I'm like, honestly, in my bio, bro, I think I'm more art, bro. But that helped me develop like what looks good, what doesn't, and also help teach folks what could look good for them or what they should be looking for. And from there, I started another little brand or photography hustle that I was doing grad photos for folks, which is another good time. And then eventually I moved out to the Bay again and I started working with a group called Bird Management. Shout out to Gerald. It was just his birthday yesterday. It's my boss. And yeah, they gave me the opportunity to take photos at concerts and shows. So I've had the opportunity to take pictures of like some of the most famous people in the world, or be like steps away from them. And again, like I guess this is all based off of just taking an opportunity that's given to you. One of my good friends, Nate, that I went to high school with, asked me if I could take photos for his show. Um, that the venue happened to be 10 minutes away from my house. So I was like, yeah, I could do that. Yeah, with that, photos became something that I loved, not only because like I get to create something that's beautiful, but I get to live in the moment that a lot of people think about for the rest of their lives. And I really appreciated being like an archivist in that thought.
An archivist. I like the way you put that because there's just so many memories and stories that come with pictures. There's like they really when they say a picture is worth like 1,000 words, like they really mean that. And just even scrolling through 35 millimeter Kenny, like there's a photo of this like Black Lives Matter post or this wall rather in Chinatown in Oakland. And it's from when is this from April 2021. The photo from outside of a bakery and it has the no justice, no peace. Like there's just so many stories within these different photographs, whether it's construction, whether it's bridges. So definitely check out 35 millimeter Kenny on Instagram, 35mm Kenny, just seeing all the different things that he's posting. And one thing I can also say about Kenny, you're always on the grind. I could talk to you at 10 o'clock p.m. I'm like, all right, bro, like I'm about to head to bed. What you about to do is like, oh, I got to do this shoot. I'm like, bro, it's 10:30. Where the hell are you going? Or like we be chilling at the crib, like playing Mario Party or something. Like, all right, y'all, it's midnight. I'm about to go to bed. What you about to do? Oh, we're going to Mexico to volunteer right now.
That's true. I'm a workaholic, y'all. I'm sorry.
It's all good, but I think it's just because you're so passionate about the work that you're doing. But in terms of being a workaholic, and if I might add, like a bit of a perfectionist at times, perhaps,
Definitely.
have there been times where you've like wanted to stray away from the pathways that you're on or give up on some of your businesses? And if so, how did you overcome that?
Oh, this is a great question. I think every quarter, I think there's something I want to give up on to try to be the best in something else. But I guess I'd say with that, there's always an affirmation that comes after. Excuse me, an affirmation that comes after that basically says like, no, we appreciate what you're doing or we appreciate your work. Try more, experiment more. And I think that's like kind of the grace that I try to give myself when thinking about these different art forms or these different businesses, right? There's people playing with like $1 billion budgets, and not to say that like okay, so they have the ability to, but I think it's more so like give yourself the space to like treat it like $1 billion budget, right? Like you really appreciate the money or the things that you're spending time and energy on, like treat it that way and kind of give it its own intentionality. So whenever I feel lost, I was like, I didn't even answer the question. Whenever I feel lost about like a particular thing, um, I like to go to the water, and
Mm.
I'm really connected with the water, and I just like to sit it over and think about really what I tend to intend to do with this thing or this product that I want to give to the world. I know a lot of times um, I result in like maybe I need to look at a different way this can be given to the world. So that'll be for me like, oh, like y'all need a beat. Let me send a beat. Y'all need a design. Let me send an idea for it. Things of that nature. So I try to restructure and take a break from whatever it is that I'm stuck on or that I'm losing a little motivation in.
That's beautiful advice. I think that's advice that I need to have on loop. I'm gonna cut this part of the episode and like just loop that when I'm like doubting, like, oh, do I really want to do this? Because I think that, yeah, that really hit home those words of advice. Um, and now I want to talk a little bit about words of advice that you would have for people outside of like just when you are thinking about giving up, but just what general words of advice do you have for someone who might be wanting to start a new passion or develop their passion a different way, or maybe bring their identities into their profession like you were doing with Crown Ellen? Like, what words of advice could you share with some of our listeners?
Definitely. I think the biggest thing is jump in. Like a lot of people are afraid and like sitting in fear is immobilizing. It doesn't allow you to really see anything that you want. Um, I challenge everyone to take the chance because you'll never know. Um, every time that, again, that I doubted myself, another opportunity presented itself. And I think that's just the kind of karma you put into the world if you do it with the right intentions and you really want to make something good for um, not only yourself, like out of like the desire to make yourself feel like satisfied or complete, but also to give to others. A lot of the thoughts or ideas, I don't really try to gatekeep or like hold
Mm.
on to. I really would rather like sell Kyler, like, oh, I think you should do this, this, and this, even if it's something I have planned for my own thing, right? Like giving to others is one of the most beautiful things you can do in life.
Such a giver. I love that. Made my heart feel all warm hearing that.
Thank you.
Um, let's close this podcast out with a couple of quick hitters. Both of
Okay.
them are going to be related to dentistry, and I did not prepare you for these questions.
Okay.
So I'm excited to put you on the spot. The first one: what dental habits really grind your gears? Like, if there's anything that people don't do when it comes to their dental hygiene, like what's like you hear your friend doesn't do something, it just pisses you off.
One thing is floss. I think it's more so because they try to lie, and I'm like, dog, I'm in your mouth. I'm in your mouth, dog. You don't got to lie, Craig. You ain't got to lie. I can see it. I can see the food. I'm picking it out. I'm picking it out. Damn it.
Like, yeah, I
Like,
floss twice a day.
like, yeah. Well, we want you to improve on that. Can you fly twice more a day? I guess. Secondly, ooh, I'm gonna lose something from that. I'm not gonna say that.
Yeah, don't get
Secondly,
yourself
I
caught
think
up.
it's right. I know. I'm like, secondly, I think it's dang, what is it? I think it's just that, dog. The flossing. Flossing is pretty tragic. Um, or I guess the last thing would be like staining things that stain your teeth, right? Like
Mm.
somebody's like, I drink hella coffee. How can I get my teeth whiter? Do you want to drink that much coffee, dog? Do you want to like smoke that much tobacco? Like, let's just, we know what it does. Let's just be honest.
Some of our listeners ain't gonna like that coffee point. They're like, man, mind your business. I need my pumpkin spice latte.
Hey, we all got something, right? I drink a lot of energy drinks for the record. Yerba, yerba, yerba mate. Let me know. I need a sponsor.
I'm about to say no free sponsors on this podcast.
Please, I don't got it.
Um,
Any herbs, any yerbas.
see, if you're gonna say that though, you're supposed to have the can right next to you so you could just pull it up. Like, you ain't got no empty can on you. My man's really
Look
look
back.
though. Looking. Next up, for people who say that they're scared of the dentist, what words do you have for them?
First thing, come before you get scared.
Mm.
Like you can feel when something ain't right. Come to us when you feel something ain't right. That's a good thing, right? Like, because your body knows what's wrong. Like, listen to your body. If something hurts in your mouth, go tell your dentist. He wants to help, or she, they want to help you. Especially this one. And second, like I'm the nicest dentist. So come see me if you're gonna see anybody.
This shameless self plug. I love it. But I have no doubt that you're going to be such a friendly dentist. I feel like you're going to be the dentist that makes all the people laugh and just want to see their smiles. Kenny Smiles Jones Dentistry. Kenny and I have discussed many of business plans for his future dental office and how I can take it over as an MBA and he'd be the dentist in there.
Yeah, I hope all y'all hold him to that accountability. Yep, we're gonna open up for
Hey,
you, Kyler.
hey, we're gonna do it, but you gonna have to pay me more than just boom chicka pop. Like I'm gonna need a salary.
We're gonna give whatever you want. Almost.
All right, we're gonna
Me.
hold you to that too. Give you
Hey,
whatever.
yeah, no, I was like, not on the
It's on
record.
record. And I can cut out the almost. I'm the podcast.
We'd have to speak to my manager about this.
I am the manager. Hey, well, you should have had your manager review the stipulations for the banquet hall. I
I'm gonna
know
tell
we're
him
back.
honestly. I'm gonna text him right after this and be like, I kind of messed up.
Oh yeah, you got to have your manager review the podcast that you're gonna be on. He should have had me sign a contract or something. See what I'm doing with
NDA,
all this.
honestly.
NDA on a podcast
You thought I told you about the. They gotta listen if they want to hear about the.
about the.
Mm.
Nah, you know I got you. We ain't we gonna be in good business. We're gonna be good business partners. I'm not gonna ask for anything egregious, but Smiles Jones Dentistry, is that we dapping that up?
Yeah.
There we go.
Mm.
Audio listeners are just gonna have a blast with this one. Um, next one. This is kind of just a funny one. What toothpaste do you recommend?
I feel like as someone that's like looking to prescribe things for people, it's hard because everyone is different. I
Mm,
do recommend the one that suits your needs the best. So if you're looking for some like, oh, my gums hurt, there are some that help your gums. If you're like, oh, I want a more bright smile, like let's look for the whitening one. Baking soda on the record is known to whiten, so maybe we want to hit up the baking soda Arm& and Hammer one.
the Arm& and Hammer brands. I've had some Arm& and Hammer toothpaste.
They help. I feel like they're pretty like brilliant. Um, Also to the Colgate one, the one I worked with. Shout out to them. If they want to get up again, let
Sponsor
me
your
know.
boy
They might make me go back to get more school. I might do it too, but
if
I
they pay
won't.
for it.
No, I won't. But yeah, and Sensodyne. If your teeth are sensitive, get Sensodyne for sure.
Sensodyne for sensitive teeth. Well,
Um, wait. Before that, but if anything hurts, please see the dentist. Like, don't wait for me. Please don't wait for me. All my friends are like, "Oh, I'll save this for you." Like, bro, get it taken care of. Like, please, it's gonna be something crazy that I honestly will have to send to somebody else to help you with. I'm not specializing, but I got the homies.
got the homies. That's the important piece. And I think that's kind of my favorite, like, comedic part of like going to college and getting a degree in something. Your friends, family, and biggest supporters, they automatically is like, oh, well, Kenny's a dentist. I need a root canal. Kenny, can you hook it up? Like, yo, like I just took Dental 101 this weekend.
Yeah. Literally, someone like people hit me up all the time and just send me pictures of their mouth. And I'm like, dog, good morning. Like, people pay me to do this.
I can't imagine waking up to just getting a picture of one of your friends' mouths.
Like, I
Like, hey,
love you.
Kenny, uh, does
I
this
love
look
you.
okay?
I love you, dog. You gotta at least say hello. God damn.
Oh, that's for sure going in the promo.
Please, I
So
can't
if you're
wait to post
listening to
that.
this, send to Dr. Kenny Jones a picture of your back molars.
Oh my gosh. If there's any audio messages that want to be sent for questions, I will do a second
Mm.
segment where I answer them all. Should we do that?
We absolutely should do that. So, for the sake of the clip, I'm gonna say it out loud. Banquet Hall listeners, we're going to have our first Q&A episode with a dentist. Like, how many podcasts you'll know give you a Q&A with a black male dentist?
That's what I'm
So,
talking about.
whatever oral hygiene questions that you have, head over to the link in the bio at Banquet Hall Pod and send us a quick voice memo or send us a DM with your dental questions. I will bring Dr. Kenny back to the podcast to answer to them. With the caveat slash disclaimer, keep in mind that my man's is still in dental school, so he's going to give his informed opinion.
Yeah,
It's not supposed to be the 10 commandments of dentistry, like,
that's
but just
facts.
to hear from someone in the field studying and someone who's not going to BS you, like he will give you an honest answer based off of his experience. And if he don't know, Kenny will tell you that he does not know.
And I will ask somebody that does know.
And he will ask somebody that does know. So great. See, this is why you and I work well together. Like we just toss in pods, or you just trying to sneak and get on a pod twice. I don't know. One of the two. I've taught you well, Kenny
I'm
Jones.
trying to get on a couple segments. So if y'all want to send them in incrementally, I can get on the next one and the next one. I want to come back.
You're definitely back at the banquet hall again. I mean, we just had our first chef in the banquet hall. We got our first dentist now. They gonna eat cooking Pal Pal's food. Then they're gonna get their teeth checked out by Dr. Kenny Jones. We
For
got to
sure.
have the resident dentist at the banquet hall. So whether it's going to be a monthly, bi-monthly episodes, we will have multiple Q&As with the dentist, Kenny Jones, or just whatever y'all want to hear Kenny talk about. We could just have Kenny be the Q&A partner of the podcast. Whenever I want to do a Q&A, we just going to bring Kenny on. I think I like that.
This is the best time ever now. This is the best Christmas gift. I just want to
Aw.
answer questions.
So send in your questions, bhallpods at gmail.com, at banquet hall pod on IG, Twitter, send us a voice memo. And also, because I have to throw this shameless plug before I let you plug whatever you need to plug, I've recently activated the ability for folks to support this podcast. So if you want to support the banquet hall on a monthly basis, you can head on over to the link in our bio to our Anchor dashboard page, anchor.fm/banquet hall pod, and you can support our podcast monthly. You can support it with $1 a month, $5 a month, $50 a month if you're feeling froggy. But just whatever way you want to support the podcast, you can support it in that way. But Kenny, I want to thank you in advance for being on the podcast. But before you go, I want to give you an opportunity to pull any shameless plugs, let us know what's coming next. Anything you want the folks to know, the mic is yours.
Wow, thank you so much. So again, you can follow me at dr.kennyjones on Instagram, also 35mm Kenny, as well as Crown Ellen with a K. Doing a lot of work with Zaire Williams in the future. So look out for his album to drop this year in January. Also, we got Bebo's album coming for some beats from me, which will be the end of this week too. So y'all will hear it. Y'all will hear this. Check out the beats there. We got Above Me coming with 4 drops. So go get those clothes. We're gonna have some other fun things with that. We're thinking about some shoe charms too with that. And yeah, I hope y'all have a lot of love for every day and to the people that you love too. And thank you for having me on the podcast, Kyler. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for joining the Banquet Hall, Kenny. You'll be back on many episodes and a Natural Nonsense podcast feature in your future as well. Of course, we got to bring you to Natural Nonsense in the near future.
Yeah, definitely. I need to talk about those animal things that you're always talking about. I need to
Not
narrate
the
one.
not the animal things. You do need to narrate one though. But thank y'all for tuning in to this week's episode of the Banquet Hall. Happy New Year to those of y'all in the future listening to this episode. We still have to figure out New Year's plans on this side of the calendar, but I hope y'all turned up for New Year's. Whatever you did for New Year's, I hope it was turned. And
Hell
we'll
yeah.
catch y'all next episode. Thanks for tuning in.
Happy New Year, y'all.